Welcome to Intersecting Voices, a podcast where diverse stories collide to inspire change and amplify voices. Hi everyone, just a quick note before we get started. Due to a technical issue, Joseph's video feed is missing for a few minutes towards the end of the episode, but you still be able to hear him clearly, and we've added a photo to keep things visually engaging. Thanks for your understanding and enjoy the conversation. Welcome to a new episode of Intersected Voices. Today we have the privilege of speaking with Jose Moraes, who brings a wealth of experience and passion for inclusion. Jose is a surveyor and leader in the maritime industry, but his journey extends far beyond the technical aspects of his career. Originally from Brazil, he now calls Scotland home, although he's also spent many years living in Canada. Throughout his life, Jose has navigated personal and professional challenges, including being diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 13 and raising a neurodivergent child. Jose is not only a champion for neurodiversity and mental health, but he's also an advocate for gender parity. His experiences in the maritime industry, where he advocates for inclusive practices, give him a unique perspective on leadership in industries that have traditionally been less inclusive. Today, we'll explore his motivations for promoting inclusion, his journey with neurodiversity, and how his experiences as a parent of a neurodiverse child have shaped his outlook on both work and life. We'll also touch on the cultural shifts he's navigated, from Brazil to Canada and now Scotland, all while managing ADHD in environments that often require a different approach. Let's dive into the conversation with Jose, where we'll explore how he's worked to bridge cultural divides and create more inclusive spaces for everyone. Hi, Jose. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. No, thank you for having me here. Let's see how I can contribute. And I'm very, very happy to join you in this conversation. Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, that's amazing. Thanks, Jose. So, Jose, you were actually diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 13. And I wonder if you could share what that experience was for you growing up. How did it shape your approach to life and work?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a good starting point. Was not easy, right? Because I think what I can really remember was my level of energy. I could not stand. I could not sit. I could not stay longer hours in my school sitting on the same place, right? I want to run. I want to yell. I want to do a lot of things, right? And this was interesting because never compromised the results in the school, but they were compromising my like behave, you don't respond to any adult, you're not well educated. And that was a terminology that I feel like uh, nowadays bring me more reflection, right? That people would say, you're not, your parents cannot educate you well because it was so intense, right? And then I have a lot of problems. I remember when I was on the 13th, I have so many scars because I could not, stay in a place without get myself hurt that I started counting, right, the scars. Some of them are still visible, but some are not. And yeah, it was not very easy, right? And I think what I can say that really helped me was, believe me, a grumpy teacher. She was like a completely mental. She's like, he's out of control. And I remember I had to present one exercise, and she said, if you don't deliver up to 5 p.m. Uh, today, you will not pass. And then in Brazil, I have that story. If you don't pass on the exam, you don't go to the next year, right? You need to repeat again the entire year, all the credits. And then I did the thing. In the afternoon, I finished the entire thing, but started raining very much, like a tropical storm and very intense raining. And obviously, I went to my mom and said, "Look, I cannot go with my book in the middle of the raining to the school because I will arrive over there without a book." And then my mom said, "Oh, no problem. Myself and your dad, we have an appointment to attend." This moment, my legs started shaking already because my dad was really old style kind of education. And then I run to the school to deliver the exercise. And then the teacher was surprised. She said, "Oh, how do you manage to come here?" I said, "Oh, my mom and my dad are over there." She did not think twice. She got the book, throw away, opened her umbrella, and went in a car to talk with my dad. And then my dad was furious. Right? Oh, I'll talk with him later. Right? They're very, very bossy dad. And then she realized the mistake that she did. Right? And then she said, "You should seek for support because for me, it looks like he has some kind of different, too much energy." The terminology ADHD was not a big deal in the 90s, right? And I guess what they say that was hyperactive. That was the terminology of the moment, right? And then I went to the medic learn about, and that was very much my beginning, right? Understanding this, but with 13 years old, very difficult age, right? And but helped me a lot understand what I could, what I cannot do. Yeah.
How did you feel about that? I guess validation when I guess you've spent 13 years of your life feeling like you're different, that you can't stay still. You know the consequences, but you can't really do it differently. And then suddenly someone tells you it's because of this. How did that come to you? How did that?
This is very interesting because I guess the new generation can't understand this thing. My generation, yours, because we're more or less the same age, right? We especially in Brazil, we were raised in a condition that if you have any kind of need of a document, a prescriptive drug that in Brazil they come with uh, a black stripe on the box. That's like a super controlled drugs because has a effect and a neurological effect. And then that was my main concern. How I cannot be a crazy guy that need a black stripe medicine, right? And it was not that. But what really was my big challenge was learn the techniques to control euphoria, to control hyperactivity. And then I started learning the techniques, right? Until I learned about coffee. When I learned about coffee, the thing went out of control because I started drinking coffee like 6, 7 times a day and then did not work. No, but I'm joking. The part of the technique is very important, right? When, what was my way around to strive the challenge. And my mom was very smart on that thing because the terminology hyperactivity, she say, "Oh, then the way to make him active is throw him in all after school programs that we have in my town." And then was basically swimming, guitar, basketball, volleyball, football, everything. Judo. I did basically all kinds of sports because my mom was very much like, you need to be busy because if you're not busy, you can get yourself in trouble. I even went, I became a, I don't know how it's called in English. In Portuguese, we say the little hollow. Is that those kids that help the priest in the church? You know, the ones that dress like a, I was that thing for 4 years in my life, helping the priest in the church because it was a way to keep me busy all the time. And then the time passed. My dad came to me and said, "Look, you need to start working." And then I started working till my dad was 14 years old. My dad has a small company. And then I started learning things, learning welding, learning machining, learning all kinds of things. And this was keeping my mind busy, 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 busy. And then I could really reduce the effect, bad effect of my neuro diversity.
So when you
And
talk about just to summarize and see if I got all of them, so some of the techniques you mentioned were keeping really busy, burning that energy so that you didn't have that kind of um, extra energy that couldn't be really be contained in your body. You had medication, I understand as well.
no, I didn't. That's the story. That time, no, 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 don't take the black stripe thing.
Yeah, I get that.
You need to go by your means. For example, you always see me with a pencil in my hand. This is my way to. I'm always doing this. Can you hear? I'm always moving things in my hand. For example, when I used to play, I used to swim. I never reached a competition level, never reached that thing. But I remember my brain was even swimming. My brain did not stop. I needed to think about things. And then I started thinking, okay, each lane, each board of the swimming, I would think about something. And this was the way that the psychologist taught me to create some kind of routines in my mind that I would educate my brain to follow one specific path. And then I remember, oh, if I have to do, for example, 12 boards, I need to go back and forth 12 times in the swimming pool. Every time that I go, I will try to remember something that happened in my life on that age. And then, for example, I don't have any memory when I was 1 year old, obviously, but I remember the pictures. And I remember my mom telling me that I was baptized by my godparents. And then the time that I was swimming to finish the first lane, I was thinking about that.
So you're
And
training
then
your
and
mind
then my
to
brain was
focus on
always
one thing specific rather than letting it go wild in like a thousand thoughts at the same time.
no. And then they call this the hyperfocus, right? You learn how get in the hyperfocus. And then I learned this very well, very young, and then became another problem. For me, sit on the school, I started learning quicker than the others. I remember the teacher was saying something and I felt bored, something that she was saying about biology, for example. And I started turning the page of the book to see the next chapter, the next chapter, the next chapter. Then in certain moment, I just get really bored and start doing something wrong in the school because I had sucked the information already. And the teachers went like mental with me. How is possible? And he go to the exam and score high grades all the time. And he just read that thing, right? And was always like that. The place that I really felt myself like a home was in a university because university there is no limit. You think you know enough, there is always something extra. And then I kept reading things. I remember I was monitor of grades or credits in university that was on a period number 8, and I was on a period number 3 giving monitoring for the people on the grade 8 because I sucked all the information about how design a propeller for a tank. I learned how to make those calculations on a third grade, and I started giving monitoring to the people on the 8th grade because I was always like boom, 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 sucking things and information everywhere.
And see, like
It was
when
not easy, so
when people say that ADHD is a learning disability, I laugh a bit because it's like I don't feel it that way. I think the people who decided to categorize it that way are people who don't understand ADHD. I mean, I suppose, ADHD comes very differently to each person. So I'm not going to say that for everyone, for some people, it may feel as a learning disability. It certainly doesn't to me. And it doesn't look like it sounds to you. And it's just interesting to hear your experience with this because well, you were diagnosed at 13 years old. I was diagnosed at 38. And my ADHD looked very different to yours. You mentioned that physical hyperactivity. For me, I didn't have that. It was all in my head. But then they say that it's a bit of a stereotype where boys and men experience it physically and girls and women experiencing it in their heads. But I do like some of the things that you mentioned. I actually never really thought about it, but it's a really good advice. I sometimes feel like my thoughts get out of control, and it's not like negative thoughts. It doesn't have to be negative. It's just like even excitement, anything, like all the possibilities. And it does become overwhelming. So what you just said now about just choose one thought and focus on it and just kind of force a hyper focus in there. I actually, what works for me as well, like to relax a little bit is this kind of, if I'm kind of doing the laundry or cleaning the dishes, I'm not going to say I like the house chores because I don't. But when I get into them, it's almost like is soothing because I get into myself. I don't have to pay attention about anything that's outside, which actually requires a lot of effort as well. To digest,
Yeah.
I think we probably take in so much from the outside. It's exhausting. So these little tasks, they help me ground.
So you're telling this, I'll tell you another thing. I know a woman that recently, with 42 years old, she realized she has. And first thing was the shock, because when you think about that and you say, but everything people say that ADHD person or hyperactive person does, I never did. Why you're telling me this now? And that person started realizing what you say. Um, that person showed me a book, and the book actually is ADHD for women.
Yes, it just shows so differently, doesn't it?
It's so different, but a couple things are the same, right? And my son has ADHD, right? And then the funny thing about that, he was really struggling in certain moments on the school. And then I explained him something that was shown to me years and years ago. I say, imagine that is point A, point B. And then I say, a normal kid to go to a point A, point B does this movement here. Okay? Okay, okay. You does this, but you arrive earlier. And he will say, yeah, you're going to arrive earlier on a point B, but you go much quicker, because my son was refusing to take the medicine. And then I told him, say, if you take the medicines, you will not go like the other kids on this way. You're going to be a little bit bumpy, but you're going to arrive quicker and better. You will not feel bored, exhausted, or I don't know, upset at the end. And then that other person listen and say, did you say that, Rain? Yeah. Oh, I feel this so much in my life. And then I started connecting how for women that aspect of the frustration when finish a chore, a task or something is so bad. I have one other thing about that is very interesting, is about when we look the ADHD, this story about how we adjust our hyperfocus. Get out of my hyperfocus is very stressful.
Yeah, definitely. It's like sometimes I just need to pee, as simple as that, and I can't get off my chair because I'm
Yeah,
in this hyper focus, and it comes in the
yeah.
most, sometimes in the most inconvenienced times. But no, it's magical as well because when I start, and this happens to me more at work, so I will ask you about work as well. But when I know that I need to do something and I'm not feeling it. I mean, my motivation, my concentration is just off. And then suddenly, one at some point, I just get into it, to the hyper focus. It's a lot easier for me to get in hyper focus on things that I like and have meaning to me, but that doesn't mean that I can't hyper focus on things that maybe I don't enjoy, but I have to do.
So this is very interesting you say, because I had this problem. I always chose the things that I like the most to do, right? And then I remember my psychologist, she was very smart, very good. She said, you don't have idea how much sense of accomplishment you will have when you get the thing that you like at least done, and very well done. People will get shocked with you how good you're gonna get that thing done. So I truly believe I became engineer because of that thing. For me, it was very difficult to do mathematical exercise. Math was always difficult because I could not understand why it takes so long to develop all the equations. I never understood that. Why we spend so much time to know that the result is 3 or the result is p divided by 2, right? Give me something, give me the calculator, right? And I remember when she said that, I really started thinking, I say, you know why? That's interesting. You go over there and show that you can follow the most difficult path very well. And then I started doing this. Another thing that she told me that helped me on my concentration, my ability to understand that when I do something wrong, I need to push back and do again, guitar. I played guitar from 13, and of course I was on treatment until when I went to university. I guess I stopped playing with 19. I'm not a very good guy doing that. My sister is lyric singer. She knows good stuff. I'm not that good. But it was good to repeat the exercises, keep doing the same part of the music until you get the sound correctly. And then you try the next part and the next part, and then you play the music. I'll say, now I know. Next music and start all over again. This was a way to make my brain understand sequences, and you have to follow tasks in sequence, and it's very enjoyable. And then I feel like that was another good thing. Nowadays, I don't play too much. I play with my kids sometimes here at home, but like I say, it was so important to make me understand the sequence, and then like I be alone on my swimming moment, thinking about things, adjust my priorities for what was more difficult to me to accept. That make me don't get, because I don't know how this worked for you, but ADHD is very famous to be linked with what is the name of the word? It's not complacency. It's another boredom, when the person have no like don't want to do anything, just crash on the couch and
Maybe.
yeah. I never had that. I'm one of the guys that don't have this,
Yeah.
and
I mean, for me,
I don't know how it works for you.
I think about with I now realize it's ADHD, but throughout my life, it's like I get excited about. I want to do so many different things at the same time. I want to learn
Uh,
languages. I want to learn and play the piano and the guitar, and I want to do triathlons, and I want to do everything. But I don't just want to start learning. I just want to be the best in the first day. And it's like, yeah, I've had to be very real with myself and drop things along the way, and just, I guess, it's that thought of that reward. You master something and you feel that reward. I think your brain needs to be stimulated constantly, and that's why when I was struggling to at work to get some things done, I put like a to-do list, and I don't choose the one that's more urgent. I choose the one that I feel most comfortable doing it, because once I do it, I have that sense of achievement that allows me to get to the next one. Like, I guess that's the executive
bingo,
dysfunction, what I do to get away
bingo.
from it.
I do the same. I do the same. If you look my notebook, I usually do a square on the side of the thing I need to do, and then I need to cross when I finish. But
Exactly.
if the thing is very
It's very
important,
important
I
to
put a
treat it.
star.
I may have done it like a day ago and forgot. It's like, oh no, no, I have to go back and cross all of them. And if I've done something extra that wasn't in the list, I need to write it down so I can cross it too.
But then I started putting a star, not the one that I need to do first. On the side of the square, the star. And I cannot cross anything else but the star. And me as manager, now change a little bit the perspective to work, right? We're talking about work. These I know could sound a little bit of micromanagement, especially because you need to empower the guys, right? You need to make the team able to deliver the service. You don't need to be babysitting anybody. You need to be a nice guy with them because they will deliver better on that way. And I guess they realize I do this because sometimes I send a message to them and say, hey, that thing from a meeting with the customer, blah, 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 I do not see anything. What's happening? Right? And say, oh no, I finished that talk with the guy. He's happy. Right? But I have this in my notebook. Something that was discussed in a meeting 1 month later. I would like to know where we are on that. And then you have to keep uh, an organized way. Because if I don't have this organized way, ooh, I remember once I lost my notebook. I lost it. And then I have to start from the scratch. And then I realized that when I go on vacation, I have this frustration on the first day when I return as well. Because everything a little bit messy. You don't know where things
First
are or
day
what's
when I come
happening.
back, it's soul crushing. It's like I need to change the routine, and that is so hard. Like that's when the executive dysfunction is worse, to be honest. But you mentioned, Jose, you've started talking about your experience as a leader, and that's something I want to explore a bit further. because frankly, when I was a leader myself, I didn't know anyone else who was neurodivergent, and especially I didn't know any women who was neurodivergent in a leadership position. And I felt really alone. I felt like the way I was doing things was different, not worse. I think, it's out of the box. It's not always bad. Sometimes it's better. But I didn't feel like people understood me. At least not everyone. It did allow me to connect with other people, because that neurodivergence allowed me, or that not even the neurodivergence, but knowing about it allowed me to see it in other people and be able to support them. But also that empathy. I don't know if you see that in yourself as well. I see my empathy is very different to, I mean, it's sky high compared to other neurotypical people. So I am able to read people and connect with them now that I really know what I'm capable of and how my brain works.
Yeah. So this I like what you're saying for many reasons. First thing first, the person don't lose the capacity to be a leader, right? Leadership, in my opinion, and I have all these kind of funny things here on my side here to help me to be a good leader, right? Because we have this brainwash now on the industry. But it's everything related exactly to a word that you say. We need to be empathic. If you don't understand the happiness and the sadness of the other, right? What's happening with it? Forget it. You will never be a leader, right? And what's funny, because before I become G&D team lead here in Aberdeen, I had other leadership situations in my life. For example, I told you I played a bunch of sports when I was a kid. I was the captain of my basketball team. And later I was the captain of a team. This part is, I wouldn't want to go too much in detail, but I did a thing in Brazil that's like a skill schools where you go Saturday and then you learn welding, you learn machining, you learn more stuff that I could not learn on my dad's workshop. And then there is a competition. Who was the best student? And then I went twice. I got 2 medals and I was captain of the team. After, when I went to the university, I was captain, I was monitor of hydrodynamics. And then it was kind of natural. I was always trying to, but things that I did in the past when I thought I was a leader was very like a old style, very bossy, do what I want, I know the best, right? And things that happened to me later when I observed things that frustrated me, frustrated my colleagues, guided me to become a better manager. And then I stopped using the word manager and boss to myself. I don't use that. I'm still your colleague. I'm still a surveyor. I'm still a lead, right? And because this creates some kind of expectations about where is my expectation towards the other person. Things that happen. One person called me. This was during pandemic, right? The person was plus 60 years old. You're gonna remember during the pandemic, we had a situation that nobody knew how really prevent ourselves to get COVID. And the guy was plus 60. And then remember that thing, oh, who has more than 65 has more risk to die. That was what the TV was saying. And then the family of this employee came to him and say, look, dad, look, my husband, you can't fly offshore, stay on a box where the air condition doesn't recirculate very well with a bunch of people. You can just get COVID and die. Right? And I remember that guy called me really, let's say, what was a good conversation, but at the same time, I could feel a resistance to him to tell me what was happening. Because he was saying, oh, I call a guy to go in my place. Do you see a problem with that? And I say, no, but what's happening? I think we'll be better. And then I was like, better. Yeah, it's better, but is something happening? And then he said, no, it's just more or less just because I think I have other things to do. I said, okay. And I never caught that he was coming to tell me something important. Day after, he called me right 8:30, boom, phone call straight to me. Say, oh, I was not honest with you. It's like, whoa, what's happening, man? You say, oh, my family told me this, that, and this is coming in my mind. I think they are right, but same thing, same way I think is not fair with the company. I say, no, it's not. What you're saying is not true. It's fair with the company. Because if I send you over there, you get sick, then it will be wrong. If you're telling me that you feel yourself under a risk group, I'm totally fine. You don't go.
See, some of the things
Oh, but
that I've learned from leadership, that I think is a bit in line with what you're saying, is, and I think this is because I'm neurodivergent rather than despite of it. So I've learned that people, if you are vulnerable, if you show your vulnerability, people will be vulnerable with you. People will trust you. And I've seen that difference between before I was in a leadership position, I was a colleague with the same people for a very long time. Suddenly I'm a leader, and they, they start trusting me because I've shown things of myself that maybe, other people wouldn't, but that's one of the things. Honesty is really important to me. Um, I know that some leaders still nowadays don't really understand the term empowering, and they micromanage others. I think that seeing
yeah,
myself how I work differently, I want to honor that to other people as well. And the fact that you can really do everything yourself, you can know everything. And one of the things that neurodivergence brought to me, whether that's the neurodivergent itself or how the world's been treating me because of that, is perfectionism. So I thought I had to know everything and I had to do it perfectly. And a mentor of mine told me, no, you don't have to know everything. You just have to surround yourself with the right people to fill the gaps that you've got. And I thought that was really powerful.
yeah. And you're talking about this perfection. This is really much a brand over us, right? That we know everything. Because I used to say this: the brain is so active that we have more synapses in a very odd way that they can connect different parts of the brain at the same time. And but this drags us to another part of this conversation that's a little bit more delicate. Same way that we're able to detect information quicker, we are very smart to bring solutions, and we need to be very smart with our emotions, right? I'm Latin American, and is like a for me, it's very much is the moment that my pencils here crash in the middle that nobody can see because I know my limits and I know I'm always very close to that limit. And then I know that I'm talking with a person on the other side with different expectations. And I'm not myself only. As a leader, you represent the company. Sometimes you need to be very, very, let's say, it's very difficult for me. Very difficult, especially when things are unfair with the others. My level of empathy for me is so strong that I don't swallow very well when one person is taking advantage of the team, try to dodge the bullets and don't get the hard
Yes,
job because
yeah. If when
this
people, I usually, always really, I always give everyone a chance because I always think the best of everyone. However, there is very few people I don't get on with, but the people who I really can't take is people who have no empathy for others. I can't take that.
yeah, you see, and that's the part about we being very close to the edge. Believe
This is
me.
something that I
And
actually,
that's very yeah.
sorry, that I was just going to say that this is something that I've lived with my whole life, and I didn't know the name of it or why. The emotional dysregulation that you are mentioning, that intensity of emotions. I yeah, one of the things that I learned over time is I'm going to feel like this sometimes. When I feel like that, do not answer emails, do not talk to anyone. Just give yourself at least 24 hours until you can see it from the outside. Um,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I have my draft box, mailbox, right? There is one called draft. It's full of things over there sitting. That's my brain trying to betray me, and then sit over there, live over there. And one day I read, it's not important. Boom, delete. Just because sometimes we are so obsessed to do the right thing, to give everybody an opportunity, fair statement, and when something goes a little bit ahead, we really feel like a personal attack, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Personal attack.
Yeah, and then we have to regulate. It's a personal attack. You feel the person is really trying to hurt you, and I understand you have this because everybody that has this level of empathy to the others is because they have this backlash effect. The person feels like, oh, hold on, why I would tolerate this level of aggressivity or dysfunction or not please me because I'm doing my best, right? And this is very interesting. I have like a really long conversations with people about that. Yeah. My manager is amazing. I love talking with him about this stuff. And we are talking about the guys, the team, what we can do better for them. And I'm very lucky because my manager, he says, if the team is motivated, if the team is mentally okay, we don't need to care too much. Our team is pretty good because a bunch of very experienced guys. We don't have too many young guys on the team. And then technically, they are very good. Then we need to deal with the other problems. Persons like a burnout, overloaded, right? And then you have to monitor. And I know how the guys, I create a mechanism to measure who is working more than the other one. And then I call to double check, see how they are. Look, take the Friday off. Oh, but that is nothing to do. I say, man, get your wife, go to the cinema and watch a movie. Oh, so yeah, just improvise, right? Do it. And then the guys let they don't do it, but just a suggestion, right? But they feel like the level of empathy that we wanna introduce, and then you see the changes, right?
Yeah.
See the changes, yeah.
So
And what?
one of the things that, so I was in counselling once, just talking about that personal attack that you were referring to before. I was talking to a counsellor that was specialised in neurodivergence, and I was telling her, I was like raging about something that happened because it's like, why would they do this? I'm just like, and she said, "Well, what would you have done in his shoes if you'd been in his shoes?" And I said, "Well, I would have done this, this, and that." And then she's like, "Yes, but you and you're the virgin. You have a different level of empathy. So perhaps it's not that he's doing it on purpose. It's just that he doesn't have the level of empathy as I guess as
Yeah,
developed as you do to know that that is the right thing to do." And that actually, yeah, that made me think, okay, that's fair enough. That's a good point. And something else that you said
yeah,
before as well that I thought was quite interesting was you being Latin American, that the character or the personality, the energy that you bring is different to maybe other
it
nationalities.
is.
And therefore, the way that you
Yeah,
experience ADHD may be different as well.
it is. It is. One thing that for me was always funny was my move to Canada. First, everybody was shocked. Who in the world will change Rio de Janeiro to live close to Greenland,
Well, I've been told
right?
that about me as well.
Yeah, and then I have plenty of reasons, right? Maybe in another day I'm gonna tell you all the reasons. But I have a very good friend that I made. He became my friend in weeks, right? We were together in internship in Korea, and then I saw the career position in Canada, and then I moved to Canada. And one thing that helped me and my wife to say, "Yeah, let's go for it," was some kind of study or ranking on the internet that say the best places to immigrate, to be an immigrant. And Canada was top three. The first one was Finland, the second Norway, the third was Canada. And then we say, well, let's go. That should be. And look, Estonia, fantastic place, great people, like a really community spirit, right? And then quickly I became a scouter. I started getting my kid. I still have the dress, like the Canadian scouts dress. My son has his jacket, and very good community. But when we talk about Latin Americans, it's very interesting. I had these problems, right? Because we are very close to the edge, and our body talks first, Like my eyebrows talk more than me. And then, for example, you go and talk with a person that's very calm, very like, different kind of personality to make this more complicated. And you're trying to explain something, the person goes to defense mode because we're going to start advancing, right? Oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to get this, call that guy, do this. And then I have to learn in a very bad way how much aggressive I was sometimes because my enthusiasm could sound aggressive, one aggressive communication. Who helped me was a young fella that I trained him in Canada. Very, very talented kid. And he told me that he had a photographic memory. He was neurodivergent and he had like he could remember things that he saw once in details. And then I said, man, you're working on the wrong place, on the right place. Here your career will be fantastic because you're gonna have, you know, very easy life to get things done. But in the same way, I knew he had something and I had mine. And I tried to understand how we would connect. And then I understood that the way to communicate with him could not be that. He likes the optimism. He was very, very open and cheerful guy. But I need to control myself a little bit to don't overstate things, to don't over complicate things to him. And still very, very close to me, very good guy. He's still in the company. I know good stuff about what he's delivering down there by himself, right? And I feel a little bit proud of how he helped me and I helped him to develop his career, but I feel proud of how I left the office in Canada and I knew he helped me to become a better person, right? And a way to treat people, the way to talk with people. And it's still a little bit complicated, right? Sometimes I go in the office. Now we have an office open concept, right? Everybody together. I know I'm one of the favorite guys in the office because when I arrive, everybody knows I arrive. Loud and yeah, come on, come over here. Let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee. And everybody knows I'm in the office. And I know people is attending meetings, phone calls, and I'm talking like a carnival, huh? And yeah, but that's my style. I guess that everybody understands. It's just a little bit of space that I need
It's
to accommodate my energy in the office.
So as a Spaniard, I am quite expressive too when I talk. I use my hands quite a lot, and sometimes people think I'm shouting and getting angry. It's like, no, I'm just passionate. I'm just passionate. So
Yeah.
I've had to trim it down. I mean, sometimes I'm still maybe not conscious, and when I do it until they tell me. But I pay it interrupting as well, and I just get like really impatient when people don't go to, they're not getting to the point. And this is something that I have all the time. This is like a hairband. I'm always like under the table.
Ah, then
I'll
you,
use it, yes, to just to manage that energy.
yeah. My mother-in-law, she gave me a ring. This was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Was later in my life. And then they have a spinning. You know, this is a spinning that the kids have nowadays. But was a ring. You can spin the middle part of the ring was spinning, but crash and I stop using.
I hate the
But
rage
was so
of
good.
that because I just can't stop turning it around and it just becomes so annoying.
Yeah.
So, uh, we've actually covered quite a lot of things already, but there is one thing I wanted to go into a bit more detail. You mentioned that you have a neurodivergent child, and I wonder. So I do as well. I have a neurodivergent child, and I wonder what is your experience with how do you navigate that interaction? Because your neurodivergence is likely not going to be experienced in the same way as a parent and for your child. So, how do you navigate that?
Nah, I don't. I swim a little bit behind. This is a very good question because I think a lot about this. We parents or not, we want to leave a legacy in the world, right? That's our big mission in the earth. I struggle so much because what were the references that I had to become a parent, to become a father? Was not that simple, right? I say it quickly here. My dad was very aggressive and very old style, punishing us, right? And this did not help because we are in the century 21st. This doesn't happen anymore. Even legally, is not allowed anymore, right? And then you have to adjust, and you are on the edge of the emotions. It's always complicated. But imagine you have a young brain over there being formed with all the difficulties that I had. And that's the part, Sonia, that's crazy, right? That really, really made me think a lot. I say, oh, I should not have said this. And then after I wait, calm down a little bit, pull him in a corner and say, look, daddy wants to say sorry. I'm treat him very fair and square. Say, look, sorry, I should not say this to you. I should not pull you in this situation. And when he crossed the line, I say, look, you should not do that. Wait, never say no more because of the edge line, right? Go over there, talk with your mom, you cross the line. You don't need to say this kind of thing to her. Doesn't make sense. Right? And then I know it's helping him. But so difficult because even when we look other, I don't like to compare myself with other people because it's kind of silly. But I see other guys with dealing with the kids. Right? Then I look and think, do I have this good relationship or this good approach with the kid or not? I'm always looking, right? How calibrate. And one person that helped me a lot, and I'm quite sure he's ADHD, but he never did the test, is my uncle. I lived in his house when I was doing university in Rio. Quite sure he's like me. Quite sure. And his way to deal with the kids was so magical, right? He was always so good for them, the jokes, like he was fantastic with the kids. And then I know this helped me to become a parent nowadays. I do a lot of things that I saw him doing, even though he was not planning to teach me anything. And I still have these strange moments that I look and I say, look, should not say that. In other hand, I had some good support when I was 13 years old. And then I can tell him, I come to him and say, no, buddy, come over here. This is not how it works. Then, for example, sometimes because he's very energetic, of course he will find trouble in school. Of course he'll pull some strings on other kids that are older than him. And I told this to his mom. I say, for one big reason, I used to do that. And I did very well, right? And then she said, well, but why he's doing it? I say, don't know. He doesn't know. He just do it. And then I try to create this environment to make him don't feel the frustration that I had. That I was the weirdo, I was always wrong, I was always doing something terrible, right? And then I try to tell him that, look, that's how your life works, and that's how you're gonna see things. And then help him not so many small things that he does, and you need to go over there and say, look, this is dangerous. I know why you do this. You get attracted by something, and you want to put your hand. Don't do it. You want to say something, overreact because somebody's telling bad stuff about you. You want to yell and say something on back, and your brain gives you all kinds of weird words that fit so well in that moment to let the person upset. You can't say. You need to hold yourself and don't say because it will not bring you any value, any good. And so difficult, Sonia. My wife and I will spend so much energy discussing about that because we really want to give him a condition to grow on this environment. Much better than on the 90s. Huh? Much better, much better. The way that the society now understands this and discuss this. That's the reason I spend my energy doing this for free. Because I think will be important, not just for him, but for everybody that's coming together because people like to frame themselves, right? I'm autism. Oh, cannot say to anybody because I'm an autist in case of I lose my job. Or, that's not how the society is going, right? I feel sorry sometimes when I know people that should go for it, should search for medical support or psychological support because they have a small uh, learns to take from these special experts to help them on a neurodiversity, and they prefer just swallow the problem, right? And don't say to anybody that they have ADHD, they have any kind of neurodiverse, and then they suffer so much.
But here's
They
the
suffer
thing,
so
like,
much.
is what you say, it shouldn't be a problem. People should be able to tell these things. But the thing is, there is consequences for people when they, sometimes, not always, but depending on who you tell, there may be consequences. And that's hopefully what, between us, we can raise awareness that there is nothing wrong. You just need to understand it better. The rest of the world needs to understand it better. So for the parenting part, I thought there was quite a few interesting things there that you said. It felt like you drew from your experience from knowing who you were at an early age. You've had time to develop those coping strategies, get to know yourself better, to be in a position to help your son. You've been well, quite honest with yourself and your son when you have done something wrong, you said something out of turn. And this is really powerful because that shows that, even your parents can be wrong. I mean, we are human. And it's about what I tell my daughter as well. If at some point I get, like, I guess, mixed in her chaos, because I'm also neurodivergent. I also have emotional dysregulation, so trying to be the calm one when everything is chaos is difficult. I manage to master it now most of the times, but sometimes I don't. And I just get into her level, and then I come back and I say, "Look, I'm really sorry, but you shouldn't have done this." Well, I don't say that. I first apologize for what I've done, and then without me needing to say anything, she apologizes for what she have done, and we say we should have done this differently. And I say to her, well, she tells me, "It's okay, mummy." And I say, "No, it's not okay. I've done something wrong. And just, you should never tolerate for anyone to talk to you in any way that makes you feel less. No one should be
Yeah,
blaming you about, you trying to learn to control your emotions. You're still very little. There is people who are a lot older than you and me that still haven't mastered it. It's the hardest thing to master. So never let anyone talk you down, because I think it's really important to empower our children to not let anyone um, be.
yeah. This is so difficult. Yeah. You're talking now. I'm thinking how hard it is for us parents about that, because
Here we are again. We lost connection for a bit, but we're back. Okay, so
welcome to technology. Yeah, that's always happening.
So I just wanted to summarize what we were talking about, neurodivergence and children, how you had the opportunity to get to know yourself and what things worked since you were a teen, and that basically helped you with passing that on to your son. You mentioned that for your child, it was more that they were behaving at home and not outside because they wouldn't control the environment and they were in. And I wanted to reflect the difference in the experience that we've had in my family. Perhaps is the gender as well, how boys and girls show that neurodivergence, but for us, it was the other way around. So you would never guess she's neurodivergent. She's very popular, actually. Everyone loves her. She's so well behaved. No one no one believed when I said what happened when she was with me. Obviously, my family had seen it, but when it came to teachers, they were all shocked. And no, no, we don't see that. It's like you're describing a different child. And a big part of it, I realized now, it was sensory processing. That can drive you mad. And I've never experienced this in my life, at least not to to the extent that she has. I I was also trying to navigate my neurodivergence. I mean, I found out I was neurodivergent through her. I didn't know back then. So trying to figure out what that actually means to me, what it means to her. But one of the things that at a very young age, she came and told me, that she's noticed that she's different to other children. She doesn't feel and think the same. She struggles with things that others don't. And I said, yes, that's true. You know, you, me, and some people in your family are different. Our brains work differently. It's not a bad thing. I mean, you are so good in other things, and I gave her examples. And we'll struggle in other things more than others. But no one has everything perfect. Some people struggle with one things. Some people, thrive in other things. And it's that empowerment to give her that, yeah, you're not like the other people. It's okay. I mean, actually being different is even better because it gives you a space to be unique, to thrive, not to be like everyone else and conform to their standards and, push you back. Being different is actually really good.
Yeah, this is very interesting you say that, because I can imagine how does it work, right? I think sometimes we especially our generation was very much framed in a certain, like a task oriented process, especially in school. If you don't know the name of the 26 plus the district states in Brazil, the capitals, you will not pass. If you can't resolve this equation, you're not good enough. And I think this frame, this things, they still happen, and and I think doesn't promote too much. One thing that I observed is we parents, we get a little bit overwhelmed about what kind of legacy we are letting to them, and this affect as well this thing about career promotions and the but we cannot imagine a world that everybody's magic, right? We need to have all kinds of professions, and I think like people get a little bit obsessed with these things. My son needs to be a genius. My son needs to be above average, and sometimes they will not be happy. Right? I know cases of one person in my family that he was always very good student, high scores, and when he graduated, he got his engineering diploma, gave to his dad, and say, "Now I'm gonna do what I want in my life." And you look, why are you frustrating your kid, right? Don't do that, man. Let the guy do what he wanted, and now the guy work with computer programming, right?
Yeah, sometimes we forget that it's their own journey, isn't it? We've had ours. We need to give space for them to go on their own journeys, to learn, to make mistakes. And some of the things that we believe are mistakes are not. It's just our perspective of the world, our opinions, our personality. They are not an extension of who we are as a person. They are their own
Yeah,
individuals. So
individuals. Yeah,
let's actually move into the reflections now. Um, what advice would you give the listeners who are tuning into us now about, whether they feel they're not fitting in, they are different? What advice would you give them?
yeah. I think speak up. If uh, you watching this conversation here, if you don't open up what is happening with you in all kinds of situations, not basic, oh, I'm neurodivergent or not. Sometimes you just need some assistance. You just need a shoulder where you can tell what's happening. And I think this is becoming more, let's say, acceptable. People is more willing to stop what they're doing to listen to others. And then because we have more channels to do that, we should explore, we should exploit that. And I think people hold back too much. And when the problem grows, become unsustainable, right? Well, I have watched one podcast, and it was like an interview with one young gentleman here from Aberdeen, and he was talking about mental disease that he had, and he almost suicide. Healthy kid, like a young guy, and he was planning this. And I feel we need to make everybody comfortable to come and talk and say, look, I would like to do some kind of assessment to see what's going on. It's not like a nice or funny find that you're neurodiverse. but you understand better your limits. Right? And I think we get too much time guessing what's wrong with us, and there's nothing wrong. You just need to step back, understand where your strengths are, and take advantage of that.
Just to summarize it then, to the listeners, dare to step up, to raise awareness, and to make your voice heard. If things aren't right and we say nothing, then nothing ever changes.
Because if not, one moment will blow up, and then will not be good. Will not be good. For me, I was a lucky kid because 13 years I learned about. But I know people crossing 14 doesn't know. I know one person that crossed 60 and then he knew, right? And that person was like, wow, how do you know? Oh, my new wife told me to do that test, and then yeah, I'm autistic. I said, wow,
Well,
right?
a lot of people are realizing it now, like me, quite late into their lives, because the understanding of neurodivergence before was very limited. But then it's what you said. It's not just about neurodivergence. It's about we're all different, and we don't all fit into these stereotypes. So it's about finding that courage to find yourself. But yeah, Joseph, this has been a really powerful conversation that we've had today. So your journey through life, navigating the challenges of ADHD and raising a neurodiverse child, needing efforts for inclusion. And I mean, it offers so much insight and inspiration. So we've heard firsthand how your personal experiences and, of everyone's, they don't only shape your understanding of the world, but also the way we advocate for others as well. So, just to summarize and to close out this episode, Josie, your dedication to fostering inclusive spaces, both in your professional life and at home, it reminds us that change starts with empathy, understanding, and the courage to challenge the norms. Your story is definitely a testament to the power of embracing our differences and using them to drive positive change, not just for ourselves, but for others too. So thank you so much, Josie, for sharing your incredible journey with us today. And to all our listeners, we hope you've gained valuable insight and inspiration for fostering inclusion in your own lives and workplaces. And until next time, keep amplifying diverse voices and creating spaces where everyone can thrive. Thank you for tuning into the Intersecting Voices podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review on Spotify or YouTube. Your feedback helps us grow and bring you even better content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. See you next time.